Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something that we often sweep under the rug, something that gnaws at our peace, yet we tolerate it for far too long. It's not a subject we always want to acknowledge, but it's one we must face. It's the feeling of being used, the quiet, gnawing erosion of our sense of self-worth when we realize that we're not being valued for who we are, but for what we can offer. Our talents, our resources, our time. We live in a world where many people want to tell us how to live our lives, how to act, what to give, and when to give it. And sometimes in our attempts to be loved, to belong, to be seen as worthy, we give in. We sacrifice. We shrink ourselves. We give until we're empty. And before we know it, we're left depleted, wondering how we got here, wondering why our lives no longer feel like our own. Today, I want to share some truths with you. Truths that might be hard to hear. Truths that, at times, will make you uncomfortable. But they are truths that can set you free, truths that can empower you to reclaim your boundaries, to stand in your own strength, and to never allow anyone to diminish your light. We cannot let them use us. I want to start with a reminder you are enough, just as you are. Not for what you can do for others, not for what you give, not for how useful you can be to someone else's agenda, but simply for being who you are in your essence. And yet, we often forget this, don't we? We let others dictate our worth, let others decide what we have to offer. In our longing for connection and approval, we trade authenticity for approval. We trade our power for acceptance. And this is where the trouble begins. There's something pervasive in our culture, especially for those of us who have been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to what we do for others. The idea of overgiving, it sounds noble at first. It sounds selfless. But when you dig deeper, it often stems from a deeper place of fear. Fear that if we don't give, we'll be abandoned. Fear that if we set boundaries, we'll be seen as selfish. Fear that if we stop saying yes, the love, the validation, the approval we've been clinging to will slip through our fingers. But here's the thing, love that comes at the cost of your authenticity isn't love. Validation that requires you to betray yourself isn't validation. Approval that demands you give more than you can is not approval. It's exploitation. And over time, it wears us down. It erodes our sense of self until we're left wondering who we even are anymore. We become defined by what we can offer others rather than who we truly are. And that is no way to live. We need to redefine what it means to give, what it means to love, and what it means to be in relationships where we are valued, not used. And it starts with one simple but powerful truth: you are not responsible for everyone's happiness. Let that sink in. You are not responsible for everyone's happiness. Their joy, their satisfaction, their peace of mind, it is not your burden to carry. And yet, so many of us have been conditioned to believe that if someone isn't happy, it's somehow our fault. We feel compelled to fix things, to smooth things over, to give a little more, to be a little more accommodating. But where does that leave us? In a cycle of overgiving and under-receiving. Boundaries are not walls. They're not barriers designed to shut people out. They are the essential guardrails that keep us safe, that protect our well-being, that allow us to give in a way that is healthy and sustainable. Without boundaries, we become vulnerable to manipulation. We become easy targets for those who want to take advantage of our kindness, our generosity, our empathy. But setting boundaries is hard, isn't it? It feels uncomfortable. We worry that by saying no, by pulling back, we'll be seen as difficult or unkind. We worry that we'll push people away. And in some cases, we might. Because people who are used to you having no boundaries, who are used to you always saying yes, they won't always take kindly to the new you, the stronger you, the you that says, I matter too. But here's the truth: boundaries are not about controlling other people, they are about taking care of yourself. When you set a boundary, you are saying, this is what I need to be healthy, to be whole, to be happy. And anyone who truly values you will respect that. Anyone who doesn't, well, they were never really there for you in the first place. So how do we set boundaries? How do we move from being used to being valued? It starts with knowing your worth. It starts with recognizing that you deserve to be treated with respect, that you deserve to have your needs met, that your voice matters. And it requires a deep sense of self-awareness. You have to know where your limits are. You have to be in tune with yourself enough to recognize when you're being taken advantage of, when you're giving too much, when you're sacrificing your own well-being for the sake of someone else. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Setting boundaries feels scary. It feels vulnerable, because it is. Anytime we say, this is what I need, or this is what I won't tolerate, we're opening ourselves up to rejection, to conflict, to the possibility that someone might not respect our boundary. But vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, it's the most courageous thing we can do. When we are vulnerable, we are standing in our truth. We are saying, this is who I am, this is what I need, and I am worthy of having my needs met. And yes, it's scary. Yes, it feels uncomfortable. But it is also the key to real, authentic connection. Because without vulnerability, without the willingness to show up as we truly are, we can never be truly seen, truly loved, or truly valued. People can only value us to the extent that we value ourselves. If we're constantly overgiving, if we're constantly saying yes when we mean no, if we're constantly allowing ourselves to be used, we're teaching people that our needs don't matter. We're teaching people that we don't matter. And over time, we start to believe it ourselves. But when we show up, vulnerable and authentic, when we set boundaries, when we say no, we're teaching people a different lesson. We're teaching them that we value ourselves, that we are worthy of respect, that our needs are just as important as theirs. And the people who truly love us, the people who truly see us, will honor that. They will rise to meet us where we are. And those who don't, well, they were never meant to be in our lives in the first place. Now let's talk about rejection. Because one of the reasons we allow ourselves to be used is because we're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid that if we stop giving, stop accommodating, stop being who others want us to be, they'll leave. And for some of us, that fear is rooted in very real experiences from our past. Maybe we grew up in a household where love was conditional, where we had to earn our worth through what we did, not who we were. Maybe we've been in relationships where our needs were ignored, where we were made to feel small for asking for what we wanted. And so we learned to overcompensate. We learned that in order to be loved, we had to give more, do more, be more. But here's the thing, rejection is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Losing yourself is. When we bend over backward to please others, when we give more than we have to give, when we allow ourselves to be used, we are slowly but surely losing ourselves. We are abandoning our own needs, our own desires, our own truth in favor of someone else's. And that is far more damaging than any rejection could ever be. Because here's the truth, the right people will never ask you to betray yourself. The right people will never ask you to sacrifice your well-being, your peace, your sense of self for their benefit. The right people will see your boundaries, your needs, your truth, and they will honor it. They will respect it. They will love you for it. And those who don't, well, they were never really meant to be in your life in the first place. Saying no is a gift. It's a gift you give to yourself, but it's also a gift you give to others. Because when you say no, when you set a boundary, you are teaching people how to treat you. You are teaching them that you value yourself enough to protect your own well-being. You are teaching them that your time, your energy, your resources are precious and should not be taken for granted. But here's the kicker when you say no, when you set that boundary, you are also giving others permission to do the same. You are modeling healthy behavior. You are showing people that it's okay to have limits. It's okay to protect your own peace. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being. And in a world that often tells us that we need to give until we have nothing left, that is a radical, powerful act. So, my friends, let's talk about the power of no, because no is one of the most liberating words we have in our vocabulary. When we say no, we are reclaiming our time, our energy, our emotional resources. We are saying, I choose myself in this moment. I choose to honor my needs, my boundaries, my well-being, and that is not selfish. That is not cruel. That is not cruel. That is not unkind. That is necessary. When you learn to say no, you will find that the people who truly care about you will respect it. They will understand that your no is not a rejection of them, but an affirmation of yourself. They will understand that your boundaries are not about pushing them away, but about creating a space where both of you can show up fully, authentically, and respectfully. And the people who don't respect your no, the people who try to guilt you or manipulate you or push you into giving more than you're able to give, they are not your people. Let them go. We live in a world that celebrates perfectionism, that tells us we need to have it all together, to be everything to everyone. But perfection is a myth. It's unattainable. And when we strive for it, when we try to be the perfect friend, the perfect partner, the perfect worker, the perfect giver, we are setting ourselves up for failure. We are setting ourselves up for disappointment, burnout, and ultimately being used by those who benefit from our endless striving. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It's a way to protect ourselves from criticism, from judgment, from the fear of not being enough. But in trying to be perfect, we lose sight of who we really are. We become consumed by the need to prove our worth through our actions, through our achievements, through what we can offer to others. And this is where many of us fall into the trap of being used. You see, when we believe that our worth is tied to how much we can give, we are handing over the keys to our self-esteem to others. We are saying, I am only as good as what I can do for you. And people will take advantage of that. They will use our fear of imperfection against us. They will use our need to be seen as good or useful to extract as much as they can from us. But here's the truth, you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. You don't have to be flawless to be valuable. In fact, it is your imperfections, your quirks, your unique ways of seeing the world that make you who you are. And when you embrace that, when you let go of the need to be perfect, you free yourself from the pressure to always give, to always accommodate, to always be on. Letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean lowering your standards. It doesn't mean that you stop caring about the people in your life. It means that you stop tying your worth to what you can do for them. It means that you stop using your productivity or your giving as a way to prove your value. It means that you start to value yourself, flaws and all, and recognize that you are enough, just as you are. Now, I won't lie to you. When you start setting boundaries, when you stop allowing people to use you, there will be resistance. There will be pushback. There will be those who are used to you always being available, always saying yes, always giving more than you should, and they won't like the new you. They won't like the stronger, more assertive, more self-respecting you. But this is where resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability to stand firm in your truth, even in the face of discomfort, even in the face of criticism, even when others don't understand or appreciate your boundaries. Resilience is the strength to keep showing up for yourself, even when it feels hard, even when it feels lonely. Because here's the thing, not everyone is going to like your boundaries. Not everyone is going to appreciate your no, but your job is not to make everyone else happy. Your job is to protect your own well-being. Your job is to ensure that you are living in alignment with your values, your needs, your truth. And that requires resilience. That requires the courage to say, I matter, too, even when others don't want to hear it. But here's the beautiful thing about resilience: the more you practice it, the stronger you become. The more you set boundaries, the easier it gets. The more you say no to what doesn't serve you, the more space you create for what does. And over time, you will find that the people who truly care about you, the people who truly value you, will rise to meet you. They will respect your boundaries. They will honor your needs. They will see you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them. Let's take a moment to reflect on something that so many of us struggle with: tying our self-worth to our productivity. In a world that values hustle, that glorifies being busy, that celebrates those who seem to do it all, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our value comes from how much we can accomplish. But you are not a machine. You are not here to churn out tasks, to check off boxes, to constantly be in motion. Your worth is not determined by how productive you are. And yet, so many of us have internalized the belief that if we're not constantly doing, we're failing. If we're not constantly giving, we're not enough. This is a dangerous mindset because it leads to burnout. It leads to exhaustion. And it makes us vulnerable to being used. When we believe that our value comes from our productivity, we are more likely to say yes to things we don't have the capacity for. We are more likely to take on more than we should, to stretch ourselves too thin, to give and give until there's nothing left. But here's the truth: you are worthy even when you rest. You are worthy even when you say no. You are worthy even when you take time for yourself, even when you're not being productive in the traditional sense. Your worth is inherent. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something you have to prove. And when you internalize that truth, when you truly believe it, you will find that you no longer feel the need to overgive, to overextend, to allow yourself to be used. Instead, you will start to live from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You will start to give from a place of fullness rather than depletion. And that is where true generosity comes from. True generosity is not about giving until you're empty. It's about giving from a place of overflow, from a place of wholeness, from a place of knowing that your worth is not tied to how much you do for others. One of the hardest things about setting boundaries, about saying no, about refusing to be used, is the fear of disappointing others. We are wired for connection, and we don't want to let people down. We don't want to be seen as difficult or selfish or unkind. But here's the truth: sometimes, in order to honor yourself, you will have to disappoint others. And that's okay. You are not responsible for managing other people's feelings. You are not responsible for making sure that everyone around you is happy and comfortable and satisfied. That is not your job. Your job is to take care of yourself, to honor your needs, to protect your well-being. And sometimes that will mean saying no. Sometimes that will mean setting a boundary that someone else doesn't like. Sometimes that will mean disappointing people who are used to you always being available, always saying yes, always giving more than you should. But here's the thing: disappointment is not the end of the world. People are resilient. They can handle it. And if they truly care about you, if they truly value you, they will understand. They might not like it in the moment, but they will respect it. And if they don't, well, that's not a reflection on you. That's a reflection on them. You have to be willing to disappoint others in order to honor yourself. You have to be willing to say, this is what I need. And I am not going to sacrifice my well-being for someone else's comfort. That is not selfish. That is self-care. That is self-respect. That is self-love. Now, as we talk about setting boundaries, about refusing to be used, about standing up for yourself, it's important to remember one crucial thing: be kind to yourself in the process. This is not easy work. This is not something that happens overnight. Setting boundaries, saying no, reclaiming your worth, it's a journey. And along the way, you will make mistakes. You will have moments where you give too much. You will have moments where you slip back into old patterns. You will have moments where you let someone use you because it feels easier than standing up for yourself. And that's okay. It's all part of the process. What matters is that you keep showing up. What matters is that you keep practicing. What matters is that you are gentle with yourself along the way. Because the truth is, we are all learning. We are all figuring this out as we go. And there will be times when you get it right and times when you don't. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're human. Self-compassion is the key to resilience. It's the key to being able to set boundaries and stand firm in your truth without being harsh or critical of yourself when things don't go perfectly. When you can meet yourself with kindness, when you can say, I did the best I could in that moment. You create space for growth. You create space for learning. You create space for healing. At the end of the day, refusing to be used is about reclaiming your power. It's about standing in your worth, knowing that you are valuable, not because of what you can do for others, but because of who you are. It's about recognizing that you have the right to set boundaries, to say no, to protect your well-being. And it's about understanding that when you do this, you are not being selfish or unkind, you are being true to yourself. Standing in your power means acknowledging that you are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. It means recognizing that your worth is not tied to your productivity or your ability to give. It means understanding that you have the right to prioritize yourself, to take care of yourself, to honor your own needs. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Yes, it will feel vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is courage. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you allow yourself to stand in your truth, you open the door to deeper, more authentic connections. You create space for relationships that are built on mutual respect, on reciprocity, on love that is given freely, not out of obligation or fear. So my friends, don't let them use you. Don't let anyone diminish your light or make you feel like you are only valuable for what you can do for them. You are enough, just as you are. You are worthy of love, of respect, of care, simply because you exist. And when you stand in that truth, when you refuse to be used, when you reclaim your power, you not only change your life, you inspire others to do the same. Now, let's take a moment to consider that refusing to be used is not a destination, it's a journey. This journey of self-discovery is one that requires continuous introspection and growth. It's about peeling back the layers of who we are and questioning the beliefs and narratives that have shaped our lives. Many of us carry stories that have been handed down to us, stories that tell us we need to give more, be more, do more to be worthy. These stories often stem from family dynamics, cultural expectations, and societal pressures. We grow up learning to please others, to seek approval, and to equate our worth with our accomplishments. But as we begin to peel back these layers, we might discover deeper truths about ourselves, truths that challenge the very foundation of those old narratives. Self-discovery is about questioning these narratives. It's about asking yourself, what do I truly want? What makes me feel fulfilled? What are my non-negotiables? It's a powerful practice that leads to clarity and authenticity. When you take the time to explore your desires, your passions, and your values, you create a roadmap for your life that is rooted in your true self rather than the expectations of others. As you embark on this journey, remember that self-compassion is your ally. It's essential to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would extend to a close friend. You will make mistakes along the way. You will have moments of doubt and hesitation. You will grapple with feelings of guilt and fear. But through it all, self-compassion allows you to acknowledge those feelings without judgment. When you practice self-compassion, you create a safe space for yourself. You acknowledge your imperfections without letting them define you. You remind yourself that it's okay to stumble, to feel vulnerable, to assert your needs. You learn to embrace the messiness of life, understanding that growth is rarely linear. In those moments when you feel the pressure to give in, To please others, self-compassion serves as a gentle reminder that it's okay to prioritize yourself. It reminds you that your needs are valid and that you deserve care and kindness, especially from yourself. As you navigate this journey of self-discovery and boundary setting, consider the role of community. Surrounding yourself with supportive individuals can make all the difference. The right community uplifts you, encourages you, and respects your boundaries. They understand the importance of self-care and are there to remind you of your worth when you forget it. Look for relationships that foster mutual respect and reciprocity. These are the connections that nourish your soul and help you thrive. Engage with people who inspire you to be your authentic self, who encourage you to pursue your passions, and who honor your boundaries. However, building these relationships requires vulnerability. You might need to take a leap of faith and open yourself up to new connections. You might need to share your journey with others, revealing your fears and hopes. This act of vulnerability can be daunting, but it's also incredibly rewarding. It invites deeper connections and builds a network of support that bolsters your resolve to stand in your truth. As you continue to assert yourself and refuse to be used, you may encounter guilt. This guilt often arises when you set boundaries or prioritize your needs over others. You might worry about disappointing those who are accustomed to your accommodating nature. But remember, guilt is a common reaction, not a truth. When you feel guilt, pause and ask yourself why. What beliefs are fueling that guilt? Are they rooted in fear of rejection? Are they tied to an old narrative of being the good person who always gives? Understanding the source of your guilt can help you navigate through it. Instead of succumbing to guilt, choose empowerment. Embrace the fact that you have the right to define your own path. You have the power to prioritize your well-being without apologizing for it. Empowerment is about recognizing your agency and understanding that your worth is not contingent upon others' approval. Empowerment means giving yourself permission to pursue your goals, to engage in self-care, and to say no when necessary. It means understanding that your energy is a finite resource and that you must allocate it wisely. Empowerment is knowing that when you take care of yourself, you're in a better position to support others, not from a place of depletion, but from a place of abundance. In the midst of this journey, mindfulness can be a powerful tool. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment and fully experiencing your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment. It allows you to tune into yourself and become more aware of your needs, desires, and boundaries. When you practice mindfulness, you can identify when you're feeling overwhelmed, drained, or taken advantage of. It creates a space for you to pause before reacting, allowing you to respond to situations with clarity and intention. Try incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine, whether through meditation, deep breathing exercises, or simply taking a few moments to check in with yourself. Being present can help you cultivate a deeper connection to your own needs. As you develop this awareness, you will find it easier to set boundaries and assert yourself when necessary. Ultimately, the journey of not letting others use you is about embracing your authentic self. It's about honoring your truth and recognizing that your uniqueness is your greatest strength. Each of us is a tapestry of experiences, beliefs, and perspectives. When we deny our authenticity, we deny the world the opportunity to benefit from our gifts. Embrace the things that make you unique. Celebrate your quirks, your passions, and your individuality. You have a voice that deserves to be heard, a presence that deserves to be acknowledged. When you show up authentically, you inspire others to do the same. Remember, you don't have to fit into someone else's mold. You don't have to conform to societal expectations of what you should be or how you should act. Your journey is your own, and you have the power to define it on your terms. As you embrace your authentic self, it's essential to navigate relationships with awareness. Recognize the dynamics at play in your interactions. Are there people who consistently drain your energy, Are there relationships that feel one-sided? By bringing awareness to these dynamics, you can make informed decisions about how to engage with others. Be mindful of the energy exchanges in your relationships. Ask yourself if they are mutually beneficial, or if you're constantly giving while receiving little in return. This awareness can help you make choices about which relationships to nurture and which to reconsider. You have the right to walk away from relationships that do not serve your well-being. You have the right to cultivate connections that uplift you and inspire you to be your best self. The quality of your relationships significantly impacts your overall well-being, and it's worth investing your energy in those that honor your worth. Let's talk about the power of your story. Each of us has a narrative that shapes our experiences and our understanding of ourselves. Your story is unique to you, filled with lessons learned, challenges overcome, and moments of triumph. When you embrace your story, you reclaim your power. You recognize that your experiences have shaped you, but they do not define you. You have the authority to rewrite your narrative, to choose how you want to live moving forward. Sharing your story can also be a powerful act of vulnerability. When you open up about your experiences, you not only empower yourself, but also inspire others to share their own stories. This creates a ripple effect of authenticity and connection, fostering a community of individuals who support each other in their journeys of self-discovery and empowerment. As we navigate the complexities of our lives, cultivating resilience becomes essential. Resilience is not just about bouncing back from difficulties, it's about growing through them. It's about transforming our struggles into opportunities for growth. And to build resilience, we must first cultivate self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It involves being honest with ourselves about what we want, what we need, and what we are willing to tolerate. When we are self-aware, we can identify our triggers, our strengths, and our weaknesses. This understanding empowers us to respond rather than react in challenging situations. Practicing self-awareness requires time and reflection. You can start by journaling your thoughts and feelings. Ask yourself questions like, what am I feeling right now? Why do I feel this way? What do I need to feel better? This practice allows you to create a dialogue with yourself, fostering a deeper connection to your inner self. Another powerful way to cultivate self-awareness is through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness encourages us to be present in the moment, helping us observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we can become more attuned to our feelings, allowing us to recognize when our boundaries are being crossed and when we need to assert ourselves. As you build your self-awareness and resilience, it's crucial to embrace your voice. Your voice is your tool for self-expression, your means of asserting your boundaries, and your way of communicating your needs. Yet many of us struggle to speak up for ourselves, fearing judgment or rejection. But remember, your voice matters. It carries your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When you speak up, you honor your truth and validate your experiences. Embracing your voice means advocating for yourself, sharing your needs, and setting boundaries with confidence. Consider practicing assertiveness in everyday situations. Start small. Express your preferences, share your thoughts in group discussions, or voice your feelings in conversations. As you practice, you'll build confidence and discover the power of your voice. It's also important to surround yourself with people who encourage you to speak up. Seek out relationships that foster open communication, where your voice is valued and respected. In these safe spaces, you'll feel more empowered to express yourself and stand firm in your truth. In our digital age, social media can significantly impact our boundaries and sense of self-worth. While it offers opportunities for connection, it can also blur the lines of our personal lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and pressure to conform. Social media can create a culture of comparison, where we measure our worth against curated versions of others' lives. This can lead to a distorted sense of reality, making us feel like we need to give more, do more, or be more to fit in. To protect your mental health and maintain your boundaries, it's essential to curate your social media experience mindfully. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less than or that perpetuate unrealistic standards. Instead, follow accounts that inspire, uplift, and encourage authenticity. Consider taking breaks from social media when you feel overwhelmed. Use that time to reconnect with yourself, engage in activities that bring you joy, and reflect on your values. This practice allows you to step back from external pressures and focus on your own journey of self-discovery. Setting boundaries is not limited to personal relationships. It extends to every area of our lives, including work, family, and even our interactions with ourselves. Healthy boundaries create a framework that protects our energy and well-being. In the workplace, setting boundaries might involve defining your work hours, refusing to take on additional responsibilities when you're already overwhelmed, or advocating for fair compensation. It's essential to communicate your needs clearly and assertively to maintain a healthy work-life balance. In family dynamics, boundaries can be particularly challenging but are equally important. Family members may have expectations or demands that can lead to feelings of obligation or guilt. It's essential to engage in open conversations about your needs and establish boundaries that allow you to prioritize your well-being. Self-boundaries are just as critical. They involve recognizing when you need to rest, recharge, or engage in self-care activities. Self-compassionate boundaries mean allowing yourself to say no to obligations that don't serve you, prioritizing activities that bring you joy, and making time for rest and relaxation. As you learn to set boundaries, it's essential to recognize and navigate toxic relationships. Toxic relationships can drain your energy, diminish your self-worth, and create a sense of unease in your life. These relationships can manifest in various forms, including manipulation, control, or a lack of respect for your boundaries. The first step in addressing toxic relationships is awareness. Pay attention to how you feel around certain individuals. Do you feel drained after interactions? Do you often find yourself justifying their behavior? If you recognize that a relationship is toxic, it's essential to evaluate its place in your life. Setting boundaries with toxic individuals may involve limiting your interactions, being firm in your communication, or, in some cases, completely removing yourself from the relationship. This can be incredibly difficult, especially if the individual is a family member or someone you've known for a long time. However, your mental and emotional well-being must take precedence. It's important to remind yourself that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. You are not obligated to maintain relationships that do not contribute positively to your life. Trust your instincts and prioritize your well-being. As you navigate the journey of self-discovery and boundary setting, embracing a growth mindset can be invaluable. A growth mindset is the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. It encourages resilience, adaptability, and a willingness to learn from experiences. When you adopt a growth mindset, you view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. This perspective empowers you to embrace setbacks, learn from them, and keep moving forward. Encourage a growth mindset in yourself by reframing negative self-talk. Instead of thinking, I can't do this shift, to I'm learning, and I will get better with practice, celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and recognize that growth is a continuous journey. As you cultivate your sense of self-worth and refuse to be used, consider the ripple effect of your empowerment. When you stand in your truth, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage to assert your boundaries and prioritize your well-being can create a chain reaction of positive change. When those around you see you honoring your needs and living authentically, they may feel encouraged to do the same. This collective empowerment fosters a culture of respect, self-care, and healthy boundaries. Engage in conversations with your peers about the importance of self-worth and boundaries. Share your experiences, insights, and the lessons you've learned along the way. By doing so, you contribute to a community that values authenticity and encourages each other to prioritize their well-being. Throughout this journey, you may encounter discomfort. As you begin to assert your boundaries, you might face resistance from others who are used to you being accommodating. You might feel guilt or fear as you navigate the process of prioritizing yourself. Embrace the discomfort as part of the journey. Discomfort is often a sign of growth. It means you are challenging old patterns and stepping outside your comfort zone. Recognize that discomfort does not equate to failure. It's an opportunity to learn and evolve. When you feel uncomfortable, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to struggle. Acknowledge your feelings and take small steps forward. Over time, you'll find that the discomfort lessens as you grow more confident in asserting your boundaries and honoring your needs. Self-care is an essential aspect of refusing to be used. It's about prioritizing your well-being and making time for activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Self-care looks different for everyone, so it's crucial to discover what brings you joy and fulfillment. Consider creating a self-care routine that includes physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Engage in activities that energize you, whether it's exercise, spending time in nature, reading, meditating, or pursuing hobbies that bring you joy. Incorporate moments of stillness into your routine. Take time to breathe, reflect, and check in with yourself. These moments of pause are essential for maintaining clarity and grounding yourself in your truth. As you embrace your journey of self-discovery, be aware of the fear of change. Change can be daunting, especially when it involves redefining relationships and setting boundaries. However, change is often necessary for growth. Recognize that discomfort often accompanies change. It's normal to feel anxious about stepping into the unknown, but remember that change also brings new opportunities, experiences, and relationships. It opens the door to a more authentic life. To navigate the fear of change, remind yourself of your strengths and resilience. Reflect on past experiences where you successfully navigated challenges. Trust that you have the tools to face whatever comes your way.